I am the Lord, and there is none else. Beside me there is no God. Hear it not as history, not as a voice from long ago, but as the I within you speaking now. I in the midst of you am mighty. Before Abraham was, I am. Be still and know that I am God. This is our foundation, our safety, our atmosphere. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Now, the paradox that stops the mind. Healing begins not when we set our clever thoughts upon a problem, but when attention leaves the label and turns to the I in the midst. Yes, listen carefully. The moment you say, my condition, my patient, you assign life to a shadow. You breathe your attention into a name, and the name seems to stand up and argue for itself. If you keep naming the condition, you keep it alive in thought. Stop naming and witness what grace does. Take no thought for your life. Do not argue with the appearance. Do not explain it. Drop the patient and the condition. Well, can I then tell God my need? No. God already is God, the only power. It is the Father that doeth the works. Our work, if we can call it work, is this holy non-work. Refusal to energize the label, willingness to abide as witness to our I. Prayer is not an informing, it is an adoring, beholding. God, God, God. Let us participate for a moment, softly now, not to persuade, not to force, simply to recognize. I in the midst of me am mighty. Again, gently. I in the midst of me am mighty. Feel how the center shifts inward, not into a little self, but into the vastness that formed you from the womb. Thus saith the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb. Fear not, I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. Say it once more and listen between the words. I in the midst of me am mighty. You are safe here. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. In that abiding, we do not push against symptoms. We do not calculate outcomes. We do not dress the shadow with titles. We rest. We witness. We let. Grace, which nullifies law, flows in the silence where labels have fallen away. The name above every name dissolves the many names we have feared. So the key, beloved, is simple and radical. Refuse to hold a patient or a condition in thought. Become only a beholder. When attention releases the label and rests in the I, the mind is stopped, the heart is quieted, and that presence, which is your very life, reveals itself. And as it reveals itself, it performeth that which is given to be done. Begin here. Turn. Turn from the name to the I. Be still. The I will do the works. Beloved, the moment the mind releases its grip upon the name, something else announces itself, not from a distance, but from the center. Before Abraham was, I am. Hear that not as a history lesson, but as identity. Thus saith the Lord that made thee, and formed thee from the womb. I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. The I that spoke worlds into being is the I that breathes your breath now. This is the healer, the life, the identity. Not an ego crowned with spiritual feathers, not a little me promoted to divinity, but the very presence that is God, wearing your address to reveal itself where you are. I in the midst of you am mighty. Now, there is a personal sense we have been trained to defend. The patient, the struggler, the fixer, the one with a past and a prognosis, that is the mask. The I is the face. The personal sense looks outward and trembles. The I abides and beholds. The personal sense calls itself body-bound. The I declares, I am the resurrection and the life. The personal sense attempts to manipulate law. The eye is grace itself beyond law, nearer than hands and feet, closer than breathing. The eye is not something you become. It is that which is revealing itself as your being when you cease trying to be anything. So prayer, then, is not sending thoughts up to a busy deity to alert him to conditions. Well, can we inform omniscience? No. Prayer is consenting to presence. Prayer is letting the I be I. It is the Father that doeth the works. He performeth that which is given me to do. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Therefore our holy task is availability. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Be still, and know that I am God. Let us practice a moment, softly. I in the midst of me am mighty. Again, I in the midst of me am mighty. Now simply breathe the word God, God, God. Not to persuade, not to reach, only to recognize God, the only power. Only power. Let the words fall into a listening that is not seeking a sign. Listen for the hush under your thinking and abide there a breath or two more. That is consent. That is opening out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. The healer's stance is this transparency. We never take credit or carry blame. We are windows, not suns. We do not project power at a condition. We refuse the image and rest in the I. Quietly, humbly, we bear witness. The I within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight. We never look for results. We do not count days or symptoms. We count God. And as we abide, grace, which nullifies law, moves of itself, unlabored, unseen, irresistible. So let this be sealed in you. Healing is the revelation of the I am within, not a person fixing a person. Drop the patient and the condition, and behold the presence that is your life. Fear not, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Attend to the I, and the I will attend to all that concerns you. Rest now, the I will do the works. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil. Hear it as the nature of reality. God is too pure to behold iniquity. Therefore anything unlike God stands only as an appearance to the unillumined mind, not as substance in the one. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it says shadow, not reality. A shadow has no law, no substance, no selfhood. It borrows its outline from the beholder's angle. So it is with sin, disease, and death, as the world names them. Appearance, claim, suggestion, or temptation in human thought. These are the words the masters use. They never dignified the mirage with the word real. Now, how does a mirage get its legs? By naming. By diagnosis rehearsed at breakfast, repeated at lunch, shared again at night. By collecting articles, consulting charts, passing around the label like a relic. The mind paints a pink elephant and then salutes it. The pink elephant did not stampede in from the fields. It rose on the fumes of suggestion and stood up because the beholder fed it a name. Snakes in the dusk, lift a lamp and you will find a rope. The instant the correct light touches the picture, the serpent dissolves, not slowly, not reluctantly, because there never was a serpent there to begin with. The picture was in the eye, not in the rope. So with the conditions you and I have so faithfully baptized with names. Thou shalt have no other gods before me includes this. Do not erect an idol of diagnosis and call it law. Across the world story you will find the same wisdom. The Buddha sat, and the tempter's parade came armies, fears, daughters, arguments with footnotes. He did not conduct a debate. He did not swat at visions. He touched the earth and beheld through the parade, granting it no reality. When it received no hospitality, it passed. The parade depends upon our yes, withdraw the yes, and the tent's full. So also Jesus, who would not bow to the kingdom of appearances, said simply, "Get thee hence," and the theater emptied. Well, if I ignore it, won't it grow? No. To ignore is not to deny. To ignore, in this holy sense, is to behold the I in the midst as the only presence and power, and thereby to refuse the lie its breath. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. We step from fixer to beholder. We become the transparency through which light shines. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Darkness cannot argue with light. It has no tongue, no hand. Bring in the lamp, and the room answers. So practice the blessed mechanism of release. Lay down the name. Refuse the mental rehearsal. Let the label drop like a stone into a deep well, and give your attention to the I, softly. God, God, God. I in the midst of me am mighty. Keep your inner eye on this presence until the pink elephants of suggestion wander off to the nowhere from which they came. We look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen, for the seen is temporal, the unseen eternal. What is not real in God dissolves when we stop naming it and behold truth. And as you so behold, the I will do the works. Beloved, when the label falls, another order reveals itself, an order not managed by human reason or pushed by human will. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus hath made me free from the law of sin and death. Hear that as present tense, not promise but fact. A state of grace that banishes, annihilates, wipes out physical law, mental law, law of cause and effect. Not gradually, not if, not when you are worthy enough, simply because grace is reality and law is shadow. Take no thought for your life. Be still and know that I am God. Now, how does this operate? Not by manipulating thought, not by repeating formulas, not by driving the wind to obey. When grace stands in the boat, the storm hears another voice, "Peace, be still," and there is a great calm. When grace is present, conditions yield without argument. When grace is the atmosphere, the fig leaves of human causality fall. What remains is the I that lives itself. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. So our role, to stand out of the way, to abide where results are not manufactured, to rest without reaching until the inner hush announces itself and the imprisoned splendor finds its door. Well then, should we watch for the turning of the wind? Should we measure the waves to prove our prayer? No, never look for results. Looking binds you to law, to times and seasons, to before and after, to if and then. Resting opens you to grace, to the timeless I that is not unfolding but is. The moment you look to see if it worked, you have returned to the marketplace with its weights and balances. Leave the marketplace. Dwell in the secret place. He performeth that which is given me to do. Say it softly. Not to make it true, but to recognize what is. God, God, God. I in the midst of me am mighty. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Let the mind fall back into the listening. No reaching, no handling, only beholding. As you abide, you will discover an interior assurance that does not come from reasoning. It is a presence announcing itself. And where that presence is consciously entertained, the crooked places straighten without your hand upon the lever. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. The I within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight. So we relinquish cause and effect and consent to grace. We withdraw faith from processes and place it in presence. We drop the patient and the condition, and we drop also the clock, the checklist, the proof, In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Take no thought. Be still. Abide. The I will do the works. Now we come to the instruction. Few understand, though it is the simplest of all. Drop the patient and the condition. Do not hold a patient image. Do not hold a condition image. Release both. If you keep even a wisp of the picture, you will polish the idol while praying against it. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, no other presence, no other power, no other selfhood standing opposite the I that is God. The treatment begins when the images are released and attention rests in the living presence. Not 1 second sooner. I am the Lord that healeth thee. Hear it now, not as a hope deferred, but as the I in the midst, announcing itself. To obey this, you must withdraw reliance on external. Do not consult the body for a report, the calendar for a forecast, the prognosis for a sentence, or your human history for identity. Leave the charts at the door of the secret place. Leave the mirror there, too. Do not count pulses, count God. Do not measure pain, measure presence. Let yesterday's diary of symptoms lie closed, and do not write tomorrow's script with anxious pen. Take no thought for your life. Withdraw your faith from thermometers and timepieces and place it in the timeless. The I within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight, whether I watch the clock or not. Set gentle boundaries for the mind is a restless nurse that loves to whisper diagnoses. No diagnosis mentally, no timeline, no comparing yesterday to today, no commentary about progress or lack of it. Refuse the inner narrator who wishes to run a broadcast over the silence. Silence is the sanctuary. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Every time the thought returns to the label, let it fall as a stone into the deep and lift your gaze to the I, God, the only power, only power. Now adopt the listening attitude that makes room for grace. Not argument, not a tug of war with shadows. Consent. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Let your prayer be an opening, not a pushing. Say softly, only to recognize what is already so. God, God, God. I in the midst of me am mighty. Again, gentler. I in the midst of me am mighty. And then listen, not for words, not for signs. Listen for that interior hush that says, I am here. When the hush is felt, the treatment is underway, and the imprisoned splendor has found its way to the door. You may ask, should I not at least picture the person well? No, that is still holding a person. Behold no person. Behold presence. It is the Father that doeth the works. He sent his word and healed them. Our part is to be a transparency through which the word may pass unopposed. Never look for results. That is the marketplace again with its scales. Rest, be still, and know. Refuse the label, refuse the clock, refuse the commentary, and abide in the I. The moment attention rests in the living presence, without patient and without condition, grace moves of itself. Invisible, irresistible. And as you abide there, you will learn by a sweet certainty that the I will do the works. Now, let us do the simple thing that opens the door. Leave the problem outside. Do not bring it into the sanctuary. Sit, close the eyes, let the shoulders fall, loosen the breath, as if you lay your head upon green pastures. Hands easy. No agenda. No patient, no condition, only presence. Whisper, not to persuade, but to recognize. God, God, God. Say it again, softer. God, God, God. Feel the word fall like rain upon still waters. Be still and know that I am God. Contemplation now. We do not argue, we behold. Slowly. I am that I am. Let it echo in the inner chambers. Do not think about it. Let it be. Again, unhurried. I am that I am. Now gently, I in the midst of me am mighty. Pause. Let those words stand where a picture used to stand. Again, tenderly, I in the midst of me am mighty. Now, the ancient vow of sovereignty, God the only power. Only power. Once more, God the only power. Only power. And listen to the psalm as if it were happening in you. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Breathe it. He leadeth me. He restoreth. If thoughts wander, let them drop as a stone into the deep and return. I am that I am. I in the midst of me am mighty. God the only power. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Allow a few minutes here, without hurry, until the center grows quiet. The words are a doorway, not a destination. When there is a sense that the room inside has brightened, when the breath grows easy, let the words subside. Now, no word. Inner ears open. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Do not reach for a message. Do not try to gather a sign. Only listen. Listen for the subtle click, the small release, like a weight slipping off the heart, like a soft yes in the marrow. Perhaps there is a warmth. Perhaps there is only an unreasoned assurance. If thoughts crowd, breathe once the word God and return again to the listening. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. Wait. Consent. Let grace be grace. When the hush has settled, complete it with a soft thank you. Not to conclude grace, but to agree with it. Do not check the body. Do not test the limb. Do not consult the mirror. Never look for results. Results belong to law. Gratitude belongs to grace. Simply rest a moment more in the holy quiet, as a child leaning upon the everlasting arms. It is the Father that doeth the works. Rise gently and carry the felt stillness into your actions. Move from this place as a beholder. In conversation, in traffic, in the marketplace, become only a beholder. When a label presents itself, let it fall, breathe God, and turn to the I in the midst. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. Walk today in that going before. Short breaths through the hours, God, God, God. A glance inward, I in the midst of me am mighty. This beholding, followed by holy listening, opens out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. Keep the rhythm, beloved, behold, listen, consent, and you will discover that the I lives your day while you simply watch and give thanks. Beloved, it is meet that we speak a word of witness, not to persuade you by noise, but to let the quiet fruit be seen, that you may be encouraged to abide. When beholding replaces fixing, grace leaves footprints without fanfare. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Evidence appears as naturally as dawn appears when night runs out of hours, not because we strain for it, but because the sun is the sun. In my early practice, when these things were first dawning for me, there came a night of fear. A looseness had announced itself, and the mind had already drafted its headlines. I did what I had learned. I dropped the name, I dropped the picture, and I sat in the secret place. God, God, God. I, in the midst of me, am mighty. No argument, no affirmation against the shadow, only a turning to presence and a listening. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. A hush came like a hand laid upon troubled water, and with it the fear ceased. I did not check. I did not test. I only slept in that hush. In the morning there was simply firmness where looseness had been, peace where dread had coiled, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. I could not claim a technique, I could only bow. It is the Father that doeth the works. Another time, a small nudge rescued me from the tyrannies of planning. I was leaving for an appointment on time to the minute when there arose within a gentle restraint. Not yet. Wait. It was not dramatic, not loud, simply a knowing. I set down the keys. 2 or 3 minutes passed in a quiet God, God, God. And then, now. I went by a route I would not have chosen, not from calculation, but from that same soft inner leaning. A little farther on, the way I had meant to go was sealed by a tangle of flashing lights and twisted metal just cleared. No heroics, no headlines, only safety unfolding without human scheming. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. He shall give his angels charge over thee. The eye within me went before me and made the crooked places straight. Do you see the pattern? In each case, the picture was dropped, the clock released, the will unhanded, the eye was remembered, and grace did what effort could not. He performeth that which is given me to do. Not a person fixing a person, not a mind maneuvering circumstances, but presence revealing itself as order, as soundness, as right place, right time. We take no credit, we carry no burden, we witness and we give thanks. And you, dear heart, do not wait for fireworks to certify the fire. Notice the small, holy evidences that already appear when you abide. A lightness in the chest where a weight used to sit, a clarity in the next step without a map, a peace that passeth understanding, rising for no reason the world can name. These are not lesser works. They are the same grace in its first felt whisper. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Begin tonight, behold, then listen. Refuse the label, refuse the clock, refuse the checking. Let thanksgiving be your only answer. The eye will do the works, and you will find yourself walking in a day that seems to arrange itself around the quiet center you did not create. Isn't that wonderful? God, the only power. Only power. Beloved, honest hearts have honest questions, and love welcomes them. We are not afraid of questions. We are afraid only of forgetting the answer. So let us speak gently and plainly, that your feet may find the path and your heart may find its rest. Are we denying suffering? No. We never deny a brother, never deny a sister, never deny the tears that sting the eyes or the tremor in a hand. We deny only God reality to that which God did not make. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil. Therefore we refuse to enthrone a shadow, yet we weep with them that weep, and we stand near. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. Love does not scold a sufferer for seeming to suffer. Love draws near as presence closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet, until the fear loosens and the one life announces itself. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Love meets the appearance without granting it reality. What about the chronic case, the long parade of symptoms and years? Patience, beloved. In your patience possess ye your soul. Habituate the holy rhythm. Once or twice a day becomes 3 times a day until you are joyfully caught, hooked on God. Repeated beholding weakens the hypnotic pull of the name. Suggestion loses its voice when ignored by the heart. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Do not measure days, measure devoted turnings. Drop the patient and the condition again and again, as often as the picture rises. Precept upon precept, line upon line, the inner consent grows, and what seemed a granite wall reveals itself as mist when the sun climbs. May I use medicine or helps? Yes. Let externals serve without becoming your saviors. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. If a cup of broth is offered, receive it with thanksgiving. If a skillful hand tends you, bless the hand, but place your faith not in the cup, not in the hand, not in the process. Place it in the eye. Eat what is set before you, but dine on God. Use helps without fear, without condemnation, without reliance. The eye within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight. Externals may fall into line as servants, but the master of the feast is within. What if fear returns at midnight? Return to the refrain. God, God, God. Whisper, I in the midst of me am mighty. Hear the promises now. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned. I sought the Lord, and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. Perfect love casteth out fear. Do not argue with fear. Outlove it. Turn and behold, and let the river of presence drown the whispering. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Isn't this passive? No. This is the highest activity, the one thing needful. It is the stillness that births wise motion. From the hush come the phone calls you ought to make, the rest you ought to take, the boundary you ought to set, the journey you ought to cancel, the bread you ought to break. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Inspiration is never inert. It is effortless right action. You will find the next step illumined, the unnecessary falling away, the necessary arriving on time, and your works, because they are his quietly established. He performeth that which is given me to do. So let this be settled in you. Love meets every appearance with compassion, yet refuses to grant it reality. Faith rests not in names or means, but in the ever-present I. When fear returns, return to I. When the case seems long, keep the rhythm. Be still and know. Never look for results. Abide, and the I will do the works. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Isn't that wonderful? God, the only power. Only power. Beloved, let this no longer be an occasion, but a way. Healing as weather, not fireworks. A life that breathes presence until presence becomes the normal air. Establish the cadence. Morning before the world speaks, give 5 unhurried minutes to beholding. God, God, God. I in the midst of me am mighty. At noon, when the marketplace calls for weights and measures, lay them down and be still and know. At night, before sleep, return to the secret place and let the day dissolve into. It is the Father that doeth the works. Soon, yes, you will find it so 3 becomes 4, and you are joyfully hooked. A brief pause at mid-afternoon slips in of its own accord, and you smile because grace has made room. Pray without ceasing is not chatter. It is a rhythm of interior turning until thought itself learns to bow. Keep at hand a mantric treasury, a little page, a card in the pocket, a note by the sink, a line on the desk, not many words, only living ones. Be still and know that I am God. I, in the midst of you, am mighty. I am that I am. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. God, the only power, only power. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Let these be your gentle bells through the day. Whisper one, and then listen. Speak, Lord. Thy servant heareth until a hush answers. Now set loving boundaries upon speech. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Decline gossip about symptoms. Refuse to circulate the names of conditions. Do not trade the latest articles as though they were sacraments. Speak life, not labels. At the table, let diagnosis be absent, and let thanksgiving preside. Let your speech be always with grace. If someone would rehearse the parade of fear, Answer softly. Let us be still 1 minute and trust the I. Then be still. God, God, God. Bring this same simplicity to work and home, before the call, before the meeting, before pressing send. 1 silent minute. Enter thy closet. Behold colleagues, clients, and family as one eye expressing, not persons to manage or improve. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. In doorways, at thresholds, let there be a breath. I in the midst of me am mighty. In kitchens and corridors, in traffic and in lines, become only a beholder. Never look for results. Let your fruit be peace. Do not make this solitary. Share silence. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Gather with 1 or 2, no agenda, no cases named, no conditions held, 10 minutes of God phrases and holy listening, nothing more. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. Multiplied listening deepens the field of grace. Iron sharpeneth iron, not by discussion, but by shared beholding. End with a quiet thank you and go your way in peace. This is the art, rhythm and boundaries and community. Keep the turnings. Guard the tongue. Meet in the hush. In time, you will notice that healing is no longer an event to report. It is the atmosphere you carry. Like dew on the grass, like leaven in the loaf. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. Abide, and the I will do the works. Isn't that wonderful? God, the only power. Only power. Beloved, let us gather all of this into a single blessing and a simple commission. Here again the absolutes that do not bend. I in the midst of you am mighty. I will never leave you nor forsake you. God, the only power. Only power. Not when you feel it, not when conditions say yes. Always. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. So tonight, no delay, no reaching. Sit, enter thy closet, drop the patient, drop the condition, leave the labels at the threshold as one would leave muddy shoes outside a sanctuary. Speak a few holy truths, not to make them so, but to agree with what is. God, 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 I am that I am. I in the midst of me am mighty. God, the only power. Only power. Then, as we have learned, let words fall away and listen. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Take no thought. Never look for results. Let it live itself as you. You are not sending prayers up to a distant throne. You are consenting to the I that is already here. Be still and know that I am God. In that stillness, the government shifts grace over law, presence over process. And the promise is not future tense. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. The I within you goes before you to make the crooked places straight. Appointments, conversations, cells and sinews, thresholds and crossings, without your hand upon the lever. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. If the mind would return to measuring, answer softly, not mine to measure. He performeth that which is given me to do. If fear would rehearse its script, breathe once the name God and return to the hush. If you find yourself peeking for results, smile kindly at yourself and turn back to beholding. Never look for results. Rest and let the river move of itself. I bless you now in the name that is no name, and every good name. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Walk out of this hour knowing, not hoping, that I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Let this be your song at doorways and dawns. I in the midst of me am mighty. God, the only power, Begin now and rest. Refuse labels. Abide in presence. Take no thought. Never look for results. Behold and be at peace. The I will do the works. Isn't that wonderful?